Actions speak louder than words. He may have said some stupid stuff in the past. What he's been doing, cracking down on Harvard with their anti-Semitic policies.
That is a lie. It's not you know it's not about anti-Semitism.
Really? Look at how Harvard has treated Alan.
When these millionaires come out here and call Trump Hitler, they are calling working class Americans Nazis, rich people. He is so wealthy. I mean, how dare
they're all wealthy.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, and
they're all wealthy.
Pardon the Camp Auschwitz guy. He had Nick Fuentes and Kanye West over for Thanksgiving dinner. He's not exactly Nazi averse.
He's also the father-in-law and grandfather of Jewish children.
And it breaks my heart that we have a president who actually wants to erase a big part of what is my history as an African-American woman, as a mother who benefited, who is a white woman who benefited from affirmative action. Again, if we're going to have these tough conversations, let's have all of them. We're not going to say we're going to have this one and not that one.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. This is so insane how they try to make it seem like we're all delusional. Trump, a racist, a fascist? What are you talking about? Check this out and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, Bill Maher wants the last word after Larry David mocked Maher's dinner with Donald Trump in a satirical essay in the New York Times. Today, Maher says that the Curb comedian took it too far.
Nobody has been harder about and more prescient, I must say, about Donald Trump than me. I don't need to be lectured on who Donald Trump is. Just to use the Hitler thing, first of all, I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million dead Jews, you know, who, like, that should kind of be in its own place in history. And, you know, I know people can say, well, we're just comparing it in this way. Well, it's an argument you kind of lost just to start it.
That's what you said a couple days ago, Dan.
Exactly.
Yeah, that just using the comparison, you lose people. You know, Batya, I want your take on how that comes across to you, as you are Jewish, and a Trump supporter at that. But what's your take?
And a person who half my family was murdered by the actual Hitler. You know, in addition to it being deeply offensive to Jews, to call Trump Hitler is to call over 80 million Americans, 35% of Jewish Americans, 56% of Hispanic men, and the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year, Nazis, because those are the people who gave Donald Trump his victory. And I just have a pro tip for any Democrats who are thinking about winning back the working class, those people who make under $100,000 a year, who a majority of whom voted for Trump. You should have a visceral disgust for someone like Larry David, who's worth $400 million, sitting there and sneering and smearing the hardest working Americans for refusing to co-sign their own disinheritance. That's effectively what they are doing when these millionaires come out here and call Trump Hitler. They are calling working class Americans Nazis because they chose the person they thought would give their children back the future they were promised by this country. And it just has to stop. And you know what? Honestly, I don't care if the Democrats get this or don't, but they should get this, because this is a big part of why they have lost, because they have these rich people. He is so wealthy. I mean, how did
they're all wealthy.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, and pardon the Camp Auschwitz guy. He had Nick Fuentes and Kanye West over for Thanksgiving dinner. He's not exactly Nazi averse.
He's also the father-in-law and grandfather of Jewish children. Come on, Trump has done more for Jewish people. I'm Sicilian who grew up with Jewish people around me. He's fantastic. Okay, you know what? Actions speak louder than words. He may have said some stupid stuff in the past. What he's been doing, cracking down on Harvard with their anti-Semitic policies.
That is a lie. It's not you know it's not about anti-Semitism.
Look at how Harvard has treated Alan Dershowitz, who was there for 50 years.
Alan Dershowitz has punched his own ticket, my friend. If Donald Trump wants to root out anti-Semitism, he can go over to the Nazi chat room that Twitter has turned into.
Right. Start with Elon Musk, who did the Nazi salute, who pushed white replacement theory, that Jews are here to replace white Americans with immigrants and black people for who the hell knows what reason. Space aliens told him to do so. I mean, this is truly incredible. And the hypocrisy. Do you think you will ever see these Republicans, these MAGA pundits, fighting back against how Trump talks about Hispanics? how Trump talks about black people, Trump running around the White House removing pictures of people of color. Just picture how insane that is for a second to even do something like that. Just visualize Trump asking his staff, hey, anyone darker than this skin color, remove all those pictures. And how is it a disservice to point out to people, this is our Hitler? How is that a disservice to Jewish people? We're pointing out how he's similar to Hitler, and be aware of the boulder rolling down the hill. Like, this is such a dumb conversation.
Hitler did a lot of awful things that were unrelated to the Shoah, and it is not unfair or inappropriate to compare the policies of this government to the policies of the right. If they measure up. No, it's not. Hitler banned abortion. Hitler persecuted LGBTQ. Hitler hated immigrants.
I agree with Dan and Boccia. Hitler goes in his own little category.
I wish Hitler was more like Trump.
Arthur and John, just give me 1 second, because I want to take what you're saying.
And one more thing before I forget. Arthur said, yeah, he said some stupid things in the past. It's just like Shermichael. Yeah, Trump is chaotic. What did he say? He said, what did Trump say? Trump said that there were good people on both sides when speaking about the Charlottesville Tiki Torch. Jews will not replace us people. I would have loved to think what Batya would say of that. Are you okay with Trump being okay with those people? So disgusting. Trump is an opportunist. He doesn't care about Jewish people.
Because this is an important point, I think, that gets lost in all of the yelling, to be frank.
I'm sorry for yelling.
There was a lot of Hitler talk by Democrats in the campaign. Trump is going to be, Trump is going to do, Trump is going to, right? But I think what they're saying now, Democrats, is a little bit different. Listen to Larry Tribe saying not what Trump has promised to do, but what Trump is doing or has done has historical parallels.
Nice little university you have there. Be a shame if something happened to it. That's what Hitler basically said, although it sounds different in the original German, when he said it to the university at Frankfurt and then took them over. That's what Orban has done in Hungary. That's what Erdogan has done in Turkey. It's a standard technique.
The comparisons to Hitler are a loser for the left. I mean,
I agree, but I'm not saying they're not fair.
Well, again, you may think they're fair. The problem is
policies. Yes,
I get it, but
it's only just threatened universities, I would have met my great-grandparents. Like, come on.
It's very hard to draw that line to say, well, you know, I'm really just talking about some of the things that Hitler did.
Authoritarianism has patterns.
I got it, but there are other authoritarians to compare him to.
Great, let's compare to Mussolini. I'd love to do that.
But again, you won't get into much trouble as you
I
will
agree
with
you. I agree. It's a third rail.
Right. It's a third rail for a reason.
Yes.
Because Hitler was uniquely bad.
Yes.
He was uniquely evil.
And I think that, and really, I think we should take seriously what Batya's point is about the true, pure evil of mass murder.
Right.
That Hitler engaged in, which you can talk about a lot of other authoritarians and authoritarian behavior, and it's not that still. Correct. Right? So I guess her question is fair. Why not just compare him to other authoritarians?
I agree.
I don't agree. I think this is insane. How about when he says things that are almost word for word, like undocumented immigrants are poisoning the blood of the nation? Do we not say that these are words almost picked up directly from Hitler? Do we just say, oh, it was some guy who said it? This is just so insane. He's using words, almost words for word, that Hitler said. And they hate it. It's just like the racist thing. They hate being called racist. They hate being called, Trump being called Hitler, because it pinpoints exactly who this party is, very simply for anyone to understand.
Do it all the time. I'm just saying, and there's nothing that this administration has done in either term that compares to what Hitler did to the Jews of Europe. But nothing compares to it. But there are other really crappy things Hitler did that are not unfair to put up.
But it doesn't mean that you can't say, for example, oh, you know, when Hitler was leading up to Czechoslovakia, right, and how he went about convincing Chamberlain.
That's why we compare Putin to Hitler.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, you can talk about historically specific things Hitler did that were comparable to other. But what you can't do is make broad comparisons. But that's what Larry David was doing. Larry David is saying, when you're sitting down with this guy, And he didn't say it's like sitting down with Hitler, but that was the point of the piece, right? Which was in effect, it has the same impact. And that's where you get into trouble. I think you can draw a line and say there's specific historical things you can talk about, but when you make the big picture comparison, that's when you get into some real trouble.
Shame on the New York Times for printing it. How about that? They shouldn't
all right.
You know how many letters to the editor they get all the time, and they don't print?
I don't want
That was one
not to defend the New York Times. I mean, they did write a whole explanation about why they did it. They said callbacks to history can be offensive, imprecise, or in terrible taste, which some people might argue this is, when you are leveraging genocidal dictators to make a point. But Larry's piece is not equating Trump with Hitler. It is about seeing someone for who they really are and not losing sight of that.
Not since the New York Times published an op-ed from Tom Cotton has there been this much controversy at the New York Times. You know, I mean,
So I'll just say I think these are.
And Larry David is Jewish, guys. These people protesting in campus, a lot of these people are Jewish people. Like, are they really trying to act like the Republicans are not the party of conspiracy theorists? They try to blame everything on Jews and black people and brown people. This is insane. The Republican Party, the base, the loud, the majority of that base, they despise Jews. And they know that. This is why they're so disgusting. This is why I don't want to call them delusional or dumb. They know what they're doing.
Really important conversations, and I think we should be always talking about all of the history, because this is how we learn, this is how we grow, and it breaks my heart that we have a president who actually wants to erase a big part of what is my history as an African-American woman, as a mother who benefited, who is a white woman who benefited from affirmative action. Again, if we're going to have these tough conversations, let's have all of them. We're not going to say we're going to have this one and not that one. And you get to be at the table and you don't.
I should also point out that, yes, Larry David did not directly compare Bill Maher to Hitler, but J.D. Vance did.
Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, did not compare Donald Trump to Hitler. Yes, sorry, Bill. I love both of these guys, so I'm trying to walk it carefully. But J.D. Vance did. So let's not lose sight of it.
J.D. Vance did, in fact, do that, yes, in his past life. Breaking tonight, Donald Trump.
That's all Batya has to say. He sure did. These people don't care. It's just about keeping their relevancy. It's about keeping their job. If they said what Trump was, if Batya said that Trump is a disgusting racist, and that, yeah, he said disgusting things about Jewish people and supporting people like Elon Musk, Kanye West, going to dinner with Nick Fuentes after knowing who these people were, because she'll lose her job. She'll never, ever be able to be the Scott Jennings of whatever program she goes to. This is truly disgusting stuff, and it's so revealing. I want to see any of these MAGA pundits. The next disgusting racist thing Trump does to try to harm black or brown people. Let's see how much they fight for it. In fact, they will be fighting for the opposite. This is so hypocritical, so exposing. And this is why I like making these panels. You get all these different perspectives, but the Republicans' perspectives, it's always foundational when it comes to race. It's always foundational. All of them are okay with racism, or at minimum not willing to push back against it. Incredible. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please subscribe if you're not, and I'll catch you in the next one.